Now, my partner grabs me. From here, I'm going to turn up and look at my palm. I am going to release and pull up towards the weakness of his grip, that is the fingers. From here, I am going to place my knuckles, my fingers around his knuckle, his middle knuckle here. And I'm going to push and create a small circle. A small circular action whilst pulling him towards me. When I pull him towards me, this disrupts his balance. And from here, I'll place his fingers towards the ground. Once again, he grabs on. I look at my palm and I get my thumbs on his middle knuckle. I pull towards me and I push towards the ground. Once again, he grabs on here. I pull up and you can see where the placement is. The reason being, I just seem to get optimal leverage from here. Remember, the idea of pressing here directly affects this joint here, that being the wrist. So I don't want to be really close to that wrist. I want to be as high as possible to get the maximum leverage. And I pull in and I push towards the ground. Once again, he grabs on. I look at my palm, I pull out, and from here I push towards the ground. Now, what I'm also going to go through is another method of applying a basic wrist lock.
视频前的你，如果在男性持久力、勃起硬度等方面不满意，现在就加郭老师微信358163379，让郭老师帮助你持久坚挺，延时20到40分钟，补肾壮阳，延时助勃，增强夫妻性生活，28天彻底告别快男软男，做回自信的自己。记住微信358163379。
So I say hi, and from here I grab with the other hand, and I secure once again around that middle knuckle. And same thing from here, I keep down the fingers towards the ceiling, I pull towards me, and I rotate towards the ground, inducing a basic wrist lock. Once again, he grabs on. I say hi, and I feed into my hand, and I point the fingers towards the ceiling. I pull towards me to disrupt his balance, and I rotate towards the ground, hence inducing pain compliance. One more time here, he grabs on, I say hi, I feed into my hand, the fingers are facing towards the ceiling, and I pull towards me, inducing a basic wrist lock. Now, as I discussed a little bit earlier, I'd like to also now go through a cross grab, because these are the two main ways that someone may grab you. And please remember, for your own training purposes, do practice both left and right-handed. It is imperative that you learn to be ambidextrous, especially being law enforcement personnel, because often you'll have your kit on one side of you that is often accessed with your dominant hand. You may have to use your non-dominant hand, or even worse still, you may have sustained an injury to your dominant hand. Being ambidextrous will much more effective for your line of work and in order to apply tactical restraint and removal, especially if you also look at the scenario of working in teams and you may have to shoot off the wrong side of someone's body when trying to restrain them. So now here my partner will grab me in a cross grab. So now we're looking, he's grabbing across the body. Now from here what's going to happen, I am going to grab around the middle knuckle again and release underneath. And once again you can see that I've secured that middle knuckle. From here I'm going to pull towards myself and rotate the hand towards the earth. So there is nothing different in the actual technique. Once again I release and I grab around that middle knuckle. Remember, we want maximum leverage on this wrist. We want to ensure that this guy goes down so we can lock, restrain or arrest the person. So once again, I pull towards me and I push towards the ground. He grabs on again, guys. I could also, if I wanted, to go around the other way, which is to stay high position and secure around that middle knuckle and take him down. Watching again here, he grabs on, then cross grab. I could come around the other side, releasing through the weakness of the grip, which is the fingers, and pressuring around that middle knuckle, taking down towards the ground. I would like you now at home to practice that Run through it, go over that chapter over and over with a partner, or do it dry in the air by yourself, so that you can learn that first fundamental restraint and removal tactic, which is the basic wrist lock. The next lesson we're about to go through is the basic arm bar. What the basic arm bar focuses on is hyperextension of the elbow joint, once again inducing some sort of pain compliance. So now we've got my partner here, Greg. He once again will grab me in that mirror image grab that we've already practiced earlier. From here I am going to say hi and grab his wrist into the basic wrist lock. From here I am now going to induce an arm bar. Now there are many different ways to do an arm bar. It is not the technique, it is about the disruption of human anatomy. Please bear in mind that, and we'll go through that many times I'm sure in this series, but I want you to remember it is never the technique. It's about the weakness of his anatomy. So from here, to get maximum hyperextension, I focus on north of the elbow, just here, north of the elbow. It is just slightly above the actual very tip of the elbow joint, north. And the reason being we're at the tendons here that connect the tricep and so forth. So I'm just here north of the elbow. What I do from here is I grab his arm to secure it, and from here I push down towards the earth. And at the same time, we're going to be a little tricky here. We're going to induce a basic wrist lock. So I'm going to press in here, push in here, and I'm going to raise up, locking the shoulder as well. And as you can see, it's very dynamic. Greg tends to move very quickly with that. So once again, he grabs on. I say hi. I grab the wrist and the fingers are pointing towards the ceiling. I come in north of the elbow and secure with my hand. I push in, push down, and I raise up. And as you can see, it is very dynamic. Once again, we're still focusing though on technique development. This has nothing to do with combat scenarios. That is at the very end of this series. So he grabs on, I say hi, I grab the wrist. His fingers are pointing towards the ceiling. I come in north of the elbow. I secure with my hand and I push down and raise up, and here I've induced a basic wrist lock along with a basic arm bar. I'm now going to demonstrate another very simplistic way that you can also lock and restrain someone using a basic arm bar. Now, Greg is grabbed my hand here, and for the practice purpose of learning that release, we're going to say hi, we're going to push down. From here, I'm going to refer to what I call snaking the arm. We're going to snake the arm like a snake would snake a vine, and I'm going to capture his arm here with one arm. I'm going to get my other hand, and I'm going to clap my hands together. And I'm going to use the very bony part of my wrist north of his elbow, like so. Now from here, it's a little bit nasty, because what happens, I push my elbow towards the earth, and I raise my shoulder up simultaneously whilst clenching my hands together. So I'm here, and down he goes, inducing a basic arm bar. Once again, he grabs on. I say hi, I push down and I snake the arm, and this is how I gain the position, you see. I snake it with one hand. I clap my hands together, and remember we're focusing on that north of the elbow. And I compress down with this elbow here, up with this shoulder here, and a very tight compression with my hands, like so. And you'll see that later on I can actually shift to many other restraint and removal tactics. So I would like you now to practice that as many times as need be, so you can perform it just as I have in this video. We're now about to go through the gooseneck lock. What I'm about to show you today is several different variations of the gooseneck lock. It is an effective tool that is often used in law enforcement work. Unfortunately though, in previous times it has been taught either incorrectly or inefficiently. So what I hope to do today for you guys is to bridge that gap. give you something that is very effective and efficient and show you many different possibilities. Now, the gooseneck lock. What's going to happen? I'm going to grab the opponent here in a cross grab. The first, most important thing is actually securing the person. I want you to practice coming in and securing him around the elbow joint. I don't want to see you practicing this, coming right up and locking under like some sort of flashy person. The idea is tactical restraint and removal. As you know, law enforcement work, we're dealing with some sort of threat. For me, just to come up under here and not securing the arm is not possible. The only way that is normally possible is in the martial arts type environment. What we're going through today is law enforcement tactics. Things that relate to law enforcement, the way that you can perform in your job effectively and efficiently. So, I grab in a cross grab position, and another little creature feature will be disruption of their balance. You know, in the real world, we can't just come in here and grab here, smile at him and lock him up. It's just not going to happen for you. Okay, you're going to get whacked in the head, or you're going to have a hell of a time trying to lock and restrain this person. So for good practice purpose, you'll practice pulling his fingers towards the earth to disrupt his balance. Okay, and I'll be here, and I'll be securing around that limb. Now, from here, we're really going to go back to the basic wrist lock. As I said at the very start of the series, it does have further application later on. I'm going to show you the very typical method that's normally taught in, then I'll go into the variations. I'll come in around that middle knuckle once again, and I'll raise up. Once I start inducing a part of the lock here, I'll let go of the other hand and secure both. You must ensure that you are tucked in very tight. You don't want space. If you've got space, he can just raise his elbow, and I've lost that lock, causing me a lot of problems. So once again, I'm going to grab him on a cross grab. I'll pull his fingers towards the earth. I'll secure, and you'll notice I'm facing the same way as him. I'll secure those middle knuckles, and I'll raise up using both hands. And I'll pressure down like so, inducing a little bit of pain compliance. So once again, I'll pull towards the earth on an angle. Don't pull straight towards you. Pull here, disrupt the balance. And I'll secure around that elbow joint, and from here I'll raise up, and I'll gain position with the other hand, and I'll push down, and as you can see, it raises him up to his toes. Now, from here I'd like to discuss the variations. We'll start with exactly the same way of obtaining the position for the lock, by pulling his fingers towards the earth, securing the limb. But this time, I'm going to get his fingers up towards the ceiling. And from here, I'm going to pull in very tight towards the person. Once again, I'm here. I grab on a cross grab, I secure around the elbow joint, and his fingers are pointing up towards the ceiling. I still gain position around that middle knuckle, and I pull in very tight from here. And this is a great way to take someone out of a venue, or as a resting technique. It is very efficient. Okay, it's very tight, and it doesn't look like you're doing much to the person. You can also jack them up with a little bit of pain. You pull them, they're very advantageous. So once again, I'm here. I pull them on a slight angle towards the ground. I secure around the elbow joint, and I pull up with the fingers towards the ceiling. Now the next couple of methods are going to help you with the very first one that I showed you. I'm here, I pull in and I secure around the elbow joint. I raise up. Now this is great for people that are very flexible in the joints. You see, if they're a bit flexible here, we can get our fists on the opposite side and crank them to the side. It's not very often that they're flexible to the side. So we pull them and crank them. As you can see, it induces just a little bit more pain compliance. It really helps if those are a bit flexible in their wrists. We're here and crank it to the side. Now also from this position, we can induce a finger lock. If we grab that little pinky here, and here you can see we have a gooseneck along with a finger lock. One of the many different variations of the gooseneck lock. I would like you now to practice this several times, perfect it, get it right, Remember, it's very important in your training environment to get this right, because under fear and stress, it's going to be a lot harder to apply these techniques. The next component we're going to learn is finger locks. Finger locks are a favourite of mine because they're very, very effective. Actually, there's not many people that they don't work on. The reason being your fingers are very small joints. When you looked at the basic arm bar before, you're practicing on a very large joint, thus being the elbow, that has a lot of protection from muscles, tendons and ligaments. But the fingers are tiny. You can apply a lot of pressure to them that induces pain compliance. So I'd like to briefly go through the application of finger locks. There's many different ways you can do it. I'm just going to discuss the technique development later on in combat scenarios. We'll go through some really good methods of how to apply these in a combat situation. So my partner Bruce here is grabbing onto my hand, and we'll go to mirror image grab to start with. I am going to look at my palm. Remember that the fingers are the weakness of the grip. So hence them being the weakness of the grip, I'm going to work on them today. I am going to strip off 2 fingers. 2 is better than 1. From here, I am going to roll towards myself here, so I'm going to pop his elbow up towards the ceiling. And at the same time, as you may have realised, I start to get a wrist lock. And from here, I press back and he raises up to his toes. And is one way I can restrain or remove a person. You can be nasty and bridge it up here and induce a bit more pain on his wrist too, if you wish. So once again, he grabs on. I look at my palm. I strip 2 fingers off and up towards the ceiling I go. You must remember, if you look, it's a whipping action. It's here, it whips up, you see? And this is what induces the pain. I'm up here and I have pain compliance. From here, you can throw, you can take down. There is many different options that you have. Once again, he grabs on. I look at my palm. This way, the thin part of my forearm is facing towards his thumb. I strip 2 fingers off, and up here I have him on his toes now. Now I'll show you another way you can do this. If he grabs over the top this time, like so, I can also strip the fingers off to release his grip. And here I raise in and I'll strip off 2 fingers, and from here now I take him towards the ground. And you can here move him along if you wish. So once again, he's here, he grabs on over the top. I can come in and I can strip off a couple of fingers and take him towards the earth. And as I said, I can walk him along. If you want to be a little bit nasty with this one, you can pressure more in around the middle of his knuckle. Tend not to go to the bottom of the joint, tend to stay here, because as you can see, it's more effective. So once again, he's up, he grabs on. I come in and I strip a couple of fingers, and down he goes. And please, so there is nothing wrong with just stripping 1 finger if you have to. It's still the same job. We induce a finger lock. And as you can see, it causes quite a bit of pain. Hence great if you want to lock, restrain or make some sort of arrest in your law enforcement field. Now we'll also troubleshoot off the cross grab, the other side. Remember, it's never the way they grab you or the technique, it's about the human anatomy. You see, the things are still here, we know where they are. If we just crank them towards the earth, we're going to cause some sort of pain compliance. Once again, he grabs on. I come up and I seize that finger. Look where I am. I'm just around that middle knuckle. I'll use 1 from here and I'll take him down. If I want, as I said before, we'll use 2. I'll come in and I'll strip 2 fingers and same thing. I'll take him down. He can still now, if he wishes, grabs the other way from the cross grab underneath. Okay, I still have the fingers to work on. I just strip a couple of fingers off, and from here, I can take him down. It is a great technique. It is a great weapon for you to utilise in your law enforcement field. Practice it at home, over and over, until you get it right. The next restraint removal tactic we're going to do is the hammer lock. During many years of my own personal experience as a crowd controller, I can tell you that this lock works. I have restrained and removed many different people without any further complications. The problem as an instructor over the years that I have seen, it is often not taught the correct way. So today I will teach and explain the correct way to induce a hammer lock. Now, for good practice purposes with your partner, he will stand here in what is commonly referred to as the tough man. Okay, he's standing here with his elbows out. Now, I'm not suggesting to you that this is the only way in the world that you can apply this. What I am telling you is this is the correct way for your partner to stand so you can gain proper command and mastery. Because when you apply the hammer lock, you look for a particular space, or you create the space. Now, from here what's going to happen, I'm going to be like Superman. I'm going to fly through the gap here, and I am going to grab his shoulder to disrupt him. In essence, I'm going to pull him forward from the torso. And I'm going to turn up, and I am going to secure on the elbow joint. Now, from here, I'm going to explain the correct way of doing it. You see, this lock directly affects the shoulder joint. You do not sit on the actual shoulder itself. If I sit on the shoulder itself, if Bruce resists against me, and he stands up, he goes to stand up, I can't hold him down. Okay, and as you can see, I'm using a lot of strength there. If I am on the elbow joint and Bruce goes to stand up, I can hold him down, because I'm directly affecting the shoulder joint. Bear in mind, the correct way is always across the elbow joint, not the shoulder joint. I can tell you now from experience that is the only way that works. If you jack around with someone's shoulder, you're going to end up with problems and complications, and most likely you'll end up being damaged in the process. So, from here, once again, I fly through like Superman through that space. It is actually the mirror image arm that secures the elbow joint. I pull forward for disruption, and I come up and I lock on to the elbow joint. Now, it doesn't end here. We must secure him with the other hand. And to induce more pain, we raise up on that elbow. But we must secure it as quickly as possible. And there are many different ways of doing that, as I discussed today. One very basic way is if we come up on the inside of the shoulder. Often when you put a hammer lock onto someone, the inner nerve endings are exposed out now, whereas normally they sit behind the rotating cuff. So from here I get my fingers and I just press in here like so. Okay, and as you can see, we induce a little bit of pain there on Bruce. So once again, he's here. I fly through like Superman, and I secure that elbow joint, and I pull him forward, and I turn around. And please remember your bodily position. I'm facing the same way as him. I get a bit of rotation off his elbow. I come in, and here I am. Now, if this fails, or you're looking at maybe more of an aggressive threat, I can also pull the nose back. This is great, okay? It affects their sight as well. There is also a little point under here that causes quite a bit of pain. I can also come around on the outside of his jaw and pull him back this way to restrain him as well. And at the same time, I raise up on that arm, okay, inducing a lot of pain into that shoulder joint. So this is how I'd like you now to drill this at home. My partner standing here, I would like you to practice both left and right-handed. So you'll be flying through like Superman, you'll be pulling around and you secure in one of the methods I'll show you. You'll be back like Superman, I'll fly through, I'll pull the shoulder and I'll turn him round, and from here I may decide to pull him up from the nose. I'll go back around the other way, here, and I'll just keep running through this drill with my partner and securing him. As you can see, it is a very effective tool. This is your technique development. This is what you need to practice. And I can tell you, as you see in the combat scenarios, practice this one a lot. It works. I've been there in the real world. I've used it in the real world. I'm not telling you from a martial artist perspective. I'm telling you from real life experience, it works. Practice it. The next restraint removal tactic I'd like to go through is the S or V lock. The S or V lock you'll be practicing from a mirror image grab. From here I'll say hi and I'll attain the wrist. Now the S or V comes from the shift in his elbow. It creates the V or the S. Look, don't fret if someone has a deadlocked arm, create the bend for yourself. Okay, it doesn't have to naturally appear in their arm. Now with the S or V lock, I rotate his little pinky towards his head. From here I push his elbow below his wrist. This helps with the optimal angle of separating his wrist joint. So from here I rotate and I push down, hence inducing pain compliance. Once again he grabs on, I say hi and I grab the wrist. Create a bend if need be, and from here I rotate the little pinky towards his head and push his elbow below his wrist. One more time he grabs on, I say hi, I grab with my hand, I create a bend and I rotate the little pinky towards his head and push his elbow below his wrist. Now there's many different ways you can push the elbow below the wrist. For instance, he grabs on, I can say hi, and from here I can come up underneath, strap around the shoulder joint, and from here rotate and push down. Once again he's here, rotate and push down. He grabs on, I can say hi, create that bend if it doesn't exist, and I can come up and grab his fingers, inducing a finger lock and wrist lock as well. So I'm here and I take him down. That's a very painful one, as you can see. Once again he grabs on, I say hi, I grab his wrist, I can come up on the inside and take him down utilising the fingers as well. There's also a cross grab version. If my partner grabs on the cross grab, I say hi and I'll secure around his wrist whilst attaining his hand. From here I'll pull his hand towards the ceiling and I'll push his forearm below the wrist, like so. If with any of these you want to create a little bit more pain, pull them. Use their body weight against them. You see when you pull someone, their body weight drops into their joint. From here, like so. Once again, I can pull in. If I want to make it a little bit more painful or just to ensure that I've got it more secured, I can also trap around his elbow with my elbow and take him down. As you can see, this is very effective. Once again, he grabs on. And please remember, for your own purposes, this here is a releasing technique. You may, if you want to end up releasing from here, there may be shooting into another lock. These are not set in concrete. You'll use them in many different ways. So once again, he grabs on. I say hi, I grab his hand, secure his body. I push below his wrist and I pull him forward a little bit. Or I come in and lock him down. What you've seen so far in this series is a lot of different ways how to lock and restrain someone from a technique development point of view. We haven't focused on the nitty-gritties of combat scenarios. It's very important for you as a student watching this to understand that factor. I'm not telling you from law enforcement experience that this is the way you're going to do it in the real world. What we're going to focus on in the next couple of videos after this is how to develop skill to apply this in the real world, and obviously combat scenarios that relate to the real world. I'd like to now run through the ability to lock flow. There's a large advantage of being law enforcement personnel and practicing this drill. The idea is someone does shift a position on you when you're trying to apply a lock. You'll be able to see some other point where you can actually restrain and remove the person. It allows you to transition from one particular joint lock to another, which is very imperative to law enforcement personnel. Unfortunately, when you're working in law enforcement, it is unpredictable. We don't know what the person's going to do. If we're a little bit too slow or they're very fast, they can very quickly change position. But because we know that we're focusing on different angles of the human anatomy, we should be able to transition to another lock quite easily. So, what we're going to go through is just the locks that we've already learned through this series. My partner's going to grab onto my hand. I'm going to say hi, and I'm going to grab the basic wrist lock. I'm going to come in to the arm bar. From here, I'm going to back the lock off. Remember, if you're going to transition with a lock, you must back it off. You can't go to another lock when the joint's already locked. So what I'll do is I'll back off the elbow, but I'll still keep a certain amount of resistance on his wrist. I'll pull him around to the S-lock position, and I'll apply an S-lock. From here, I'm going to snake under his arm and apply an arm bar. From here, I'm going to shift around the elbow and pull him up into a hammerlock. From here, I'm going to pull from the back of the elbow around to the front and switch into a gooseneck lock. From here, I am going to grab the fingers and do a finger lock. So, once again, I'll run through that lock flow. I'll say hi and grab a basic wrist lock and a basic arm bar. From here, I'll move into the S lock. From here, I'll snake the arm and go into an arm bar. From here, I'll shift around and move him into a hammer lock. From here, I'm going to pull him through from his elbow, and I'm going to feed into the other arm here and trap into the gooseneck lock. Then from here, I'm going to grab a couple of fingers and take him down in a finger lock. Now, when you practice your lock flow drills, they are skill development drills. They're designed to teach you the skill of being able to lock and restrain. You can make up any lock flow, but the importance is having consistency. So, for instance, let's say I do another lock flow. The idea is that I want to see that you're consistent in your ability to be able to lock flow on someone. Bearing in mind that in real world we're going to have to apply this very quickly to prevent them from striking or getting out of the restraint or removal tactic I'd like to apply. So once again, consistency is the key. Smooth is fast. So you'll be here, guys, nice and smooth, transitioning through this particular series that I've shown you. And there are many different ways, as you can see, to apply this. They are efficient, they are effective, and this will increase your own personal skill of being able to apply tactical restraint and removal.
喜欢格斗的朋友，在微信右上角点击加号，输入 JNGD168，点击搜索，在教你格斗防身下方点击关注，就可以每天免费收到最劲爆的格斗视频了。
Can you blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just put your lips together and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby, here we go. And I'm betting you love freak mode. And I'm betting you like girls to give love to girls and stroke your little ego. I bet you I'm guilty, your honor. That's just how we live in my genre. Who in the hell done paved the road wider? There's only one blow and one rider. I'm a damn shame, order more champagne. Pull a damn hamstring, tryna put it on ya. Let your lips spin back around, come up. Slow it down, baby, take a look. Blow my whistle, baby, let me know. Girl, I'm gonna show you how to do it, and we start real slow. You just put your lips together and you come real close. Can you blow my whistle, baby, baby. Here we go. Shawty don't even know she can get in it by the low. Told me she not a pro, it's okay, it's under control. Show me soprano, cause girl